We cover the topic of the geography of the class 7 in with chapter 5, which is about the water. Water, which is an important source and the means of survival for our life. When you think of water, what image come to your mind? You think of the rivers, the waterfalls, the Peter Patter raindrops, water in your tap, children up to float paper in a paper boats in the red puddles by the noon. The puddle vanish better as the water goes. The sun's heat causes evaporation of water into the vapor. We know that when sun heat comes, then water evaporate, which is known as evaporation. When the water vapors cools down, it condenses and forms cloud, which is a condensation. From there, it fall on the land or see in the form of the rain, snow, or the sleet. The process by which water continuously changes its process and circulate between the ocean, atmosphere, and the land, which is known as the water cycle. The circulation of the water in the different form. In the figure shown that is the evaporation and condensation, then precipitation, runoff, and then this process continues and then repeat again. This is the water cycle. And the our earth, which is like a terrarium. What is a terrarium? A terrarium is an artificial enclosure for the keeping small house plants in a box. You see in the figure. This is the terrarium. Our earth is like a terrarium. The same water that existed centuries ago still exists today. Means there is not a destruction and additional besides of the water, but they change their forms and circulates in the different form. The water used in irrigate field in Haryana may have flowed down the Amazon river 100 years ago because it changed form. The major source of the fresh water are the springs, glacier, ocean bodies. The sea contains salty water, so the fresh water is available only 0.1%, and these other sources include river, ponds, etc. The water of the ocean is salty or saline as it contains large amount of the salt. You may the name of the oceans. Then we see the what is the distribution of the water bodies. We all know that 3/4 means about 75% of the earth's surface is covered by the water. If there is no water, then no land on this earth. Why do some countries face the water scarcity? We know that 75% of water present, but why? Why people face scarcity? Is all that water on earth available to us? The following table gives the distribution of water in the percentage among oceans. Ocean water 97.3%, which is saline, which is not of our use, and the ice cap, which is the fresh water 0.2%, and the groundwater 0.68%. And the fresh water lake 0.009, inland sea and the salt lake 0.009, atmosphere 0.0019, and the rivers 1.001. This makes the 100%, but fresh water present in only 1%. So it is our duty to conserve water and also conserve rainwater. And then some small point, which is the salinity, which is the amount of salt in a gram percent in the 100 grams of the water. The average salinity of the ocean is 30 part per thousand. From this we can say that the ocean water is saline. And next one is the Dead Sea in Israel. You may know about the Israel and where it is located in the Middle East, where the Dead Sea, which is a present in Israel, salinity of the 340 grams per liter of the water. Swimmers can float in it because the salt content increase and make it. That's why people float. This is the reason of the why people not submerged in the Dead Sea. This is a present in Israel. And now we see the water is absolutely essential for our survival, because water, which is the source of our life, from where we do many activities, and which is essential for our survival. Water alone can't quench our thirst when we are thirsty. Now don't you think we are wasting a precious resource when we use water carelessly. So by using water, we should keep in mind water is the precious resource and use with carefully and not use carelessly. Then ocean currents, circulation. Sorry, the topic is ocean circulation. You know about the ocean and circulation. Circulation means circulate. There is something magical about walking the bare feet on the seashore, the wet sand on the beach, the cool breeze, the sea birds, the smell of the salt in the air, and the music of the waves. Everything so fascinating. Unlike the calm waters of ponds and the lakes, ocean water keeps moving continuously. It is never still. The movements that occur in the ocean are probably characterized in the waves, tides, and the currents. There are the many movement in the ocean. These are the categorized differently on the basis of their speed and the motion, which are the wave, tides, and the currents. Do you know that March 22, which is observed as the water day, when the need to conserve water is reinforced in a different way? Do you know the theme of this year? The theme of this year is the glacier preservation, from which is the source of fresh water. So we need to preserve the glacier. As to how we preserve it, reduce the emission of the carbon that spread and increase heat, and due to which glacier melt. So we used to reduce the use of the fossil fuels and the burning of the fossil fuels. The first categorization is the wave on the basis of their movement. When you are playing throw ball on the bench and the ball falls into the water, what happens? It is fun to watch how the wall gets washed back to the shore by the waves. When the water on the surface of the ocean rises and the falls alternately, they are the called wave. You mean the figures that is the alternatively rise and the fall. This is the example. This is the called wave. In the wave, actually water does not move. There is a circulation movement of the water and the force which makes the movement in this wave like a sound. That's why it is known as the waves. But in this, water does not move. And the let's know during storm, the winds blowing at very high speed form a huge waves. These waves causes immediate destruction, earthquake, a volcanic eruption, underwater landslide can shift large amounts of the ocean water. As a result, huge tidal waves called tsunami that be may high as a 15-meter is formed. The largest tsunami ever measured was a 150 meter high. These waves travel at a speed of more than 7,000 km per hour. The tsunami in 2004 caused widespread damage in the coastal areas of the India. The inner part of in the Andaman and Nicobar Island got submerged after tsunami. So we can say that when it comes during the storm and basically huge bombs, and the when earthquake comes and when it may rise, then it forms the form of tsunami. This is a dangerous form. And one of the example is the 2004 tsunami, which comes in the Indian Ocean, which we further discuss about it. A small point which is important and then to know for us, which is the waves are formed when the wind drag across the ocean surface. The stronger wind blows, the bigger the wave becomes. So we can say that the size of the waves and the velocity and their intensity depend on the wind speed. Tsunami, which is a Japanese word. Tsunami, which is a Japanese word, this harbor waves as the harbor gets destroyed whenever there is a tsunami. What is the harbor? Harbor is the place where the ship is the parked and the where from where due to the water destroyed. That is known as the tsunami. In harbor waves that destroy it. Next one is a tide. What is a tide? The rhythmic. Rhythmic in the sense of the motion and the feel alternatively in rise and fall of the ocean water twice in a day is called a twice. Rhythmic alternatively there is rise and the fall of water in the ocean twice a day is called a tide. It is a high tide when water much so by rising to highest levels. It is the low tide when the water the lowest levels are receded from the shore. There is just become important feature that is the this is a rhythmic rise and fall and the twice in a day, and the big and highest shore level with the highest level when the water gets by the high tide, and the low which is the low tide, which is the low tide when water recede from the source and then rise. This is known as the high tide. This is the tides. Difference between wave and tides is that wave is the circular motion of water under the due to the wind speed, and the tides which is alternatively formed in the rise and fall up to the source, which is known as the tide. There is a description of tide. When strong gravitational force exerted by the sun and the moon on the earth's surface causes the tides. Then we know how the tides come. There is a gravitational pull of sun and the moon. That's why it comes. You know the gravitational pull. Pull is the term which means the earth, which means the any object which exhausts its gravitation on the other body. Example, the mass of the moon is small according to sun. Then sun exerts more gravitational pull on the earth as compared to the moon. So that we know that how the its tide generated due to the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon. The water of the earth closer to the moon gets pulled under the influence of the moon gravitational force causes the high tide. So there is the important terms of the gravitational force. During the full moon and the new moon day, the moon and the earth are the same night and the tide are the highest. These are the spring tides when the sun, moon and the earth which is the comes in the line, which is called a spring tide. You may see in the figure. But when the moon is in it first and the last quarter, the ocean water gets drawn in diagonally opposite direction by gravitational pull of the sun and the moon, resulting in the low tide. These are called the deep tides, and this pattern from this is known as the deep tide. High tide help in navigation. This is the obviously they rise the water level close to the source. This helps the ship to arrive the harbor more easily. This helps the ship to arrive at the harbor more easily. The high tide also help in the fishing. The high tide also help in the fishing. Many more fish come closer to the shore during the high tide. This enables fishermen to get plenty full catch. The rise and the fall of water due to the tide is being used to generate electricity in the some places. So we use it. We say that is used to navigation, fishing, and also generating electricity. So tide is also important for the us in the perspective of the generating electricity, and it's a it is a hydral and the renewable source for us to generate electricity. And the next, which is the ocean currents. This is also the movement of the water. Ocean current are the streams of the water flowing constantly on the ocean surface in a different direction. Stream is small water, but is example river is these all are constantly moving. Constantly moving, they not stop in the different direction. There is a fixed and a certain direction. The ocean current may be warm or the cold. Generally, the warm ocean current originates near the equator because the equator is the closer to the earth, and the move towards the pole. We know about the higher concentration to the lower concentration. The cold currents water from a polar to higher latitude or tropical to the Labrador ocean current is a cold current, while the Gulf Stream is a warm current. The ocean current influences the temperature condition of the area. Warm currents bring about the warm temperature over land surface. The areas where the warm temperature and the cold meet provide the best ground for the fishing of the water. So there is a mention of the warm and the cold, warm and the hot current. Hot current rises near the equator and moves toward the fold, and the vice versa. Equator cold current originate near poles and the move towards the equator, and the place where it meets is a crucial and important for the fishing. Sea around Japan and the eastern coast of the North America are the such example. You know, in this map you see the map of Japan and the eastern coast of the North America. Here is a North America, and the eastern coast of the North America is this, and the areas where a warm and cold current meet also corresponding with the requirement for the navigation, and where it meets it is difficult for the navigation. So there is a Gulf Stream, which is the best type of the stream, which is the warm stream, and the Labrador current, which is the Labrador current, which is the here you can see, which is the cold current. So we can conclude that water is an important resource for the earth, so we need to conserve. There is a distribution of the water, but 97% of water is present in the ocean, which is saline, which is not fit for our use. On the basis of their movements and the circulation, ocean water is categorized into three parts: ocean waves, tides, and the currents. So we used to use water carefully without waste it.